Let me see if I could be a mind reader right now. I'm imagining your life. There are probably at least two, maybe more, communication devices near you right now. There are messages binging and notifications vibrating. You have to remember what you're supposed to pick up at the store. You've probably spent more time on social media today than you should have. Tonight, you'll fall in bed, you'll surf the net, you'll go back to social media for a while, and then fall asleep. Does that sound even close to familiar? We are all so bombarded with so many messages and distractions. It's really a wonder we get anything done. How would you like to take back control of your life? How'd you like to make those pieces of electronic magic work for you instead of the other way around? Well, that's what I'll be discussing with my guest, author Maura Thomas, on today's One Simple Thing.
It's time to build a better business by building a better you. This is One Simple Thing.
Welcome to the show. Dave Kirby here again for episode 306 of the One Simple Thing podcast, and thank you for listening. In case you accessed our website over the last day or two of last week and over the weekend, you might have noted some changes that we're making. We had some problems with our theme. We were thinking about doing a rebrand and redesign on the website anyway, so it's kind of in flux right now. But hopefully you are finding it easy to use. Would love to hear your comments. You can shoot me an email, dave@onesimplethingonline.com with the number 1, or you can leave me a comment on the website as well. But we are doing some rebranding, and hopefully you will like the new format. We're going to be starting to bring in some additional authors that are going to be creating original content, and we're going to be pushing that your way here real soon. So thank you for your patience. Thanks for putting up with the construction dust, as it were, and we'll have things operating smoothly very, very quickly. But you can always access us via iTunes, and of course the website is always working. You can find the latest episode at onesimplethingonline.com. All right, let's get on with today's show. Maura Thomas is a speaker and trainer on the topics of productivity, attention, and effectiveness for clients like the American Heart Association, Honeywell, Dell, and others. She's a TEDx speaker. She's founder of RegainYourTime.com. We'll have a link to that on the show notes for today. And she's also author of Personal Productivity Secrets. Do what you never thought possible with your time and attention and regain control of your life. There is also a link to her book on the homepage at onesimplethingonline.com. Encourage you to click on that banner ad and pick up a copy of her book for yourself. Maura, thank you for being with me today on One Simple Thing.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very grateful and looking forward to talking to you. Your book is called Personal Productivity Secrets. Do what you never thought possible with your time and attention and regain control of your life. So what, when we're talking about regaining control of our life, what are we talking about here?
All of the details that it takes to manage your life successfully. People feel really busy and really overwhelmed and really exhausted trying to keep all of their responsibilities handled, their personal lives, being a good parent and friend and spouse and professional. And there are just a million details, a million actions that we need to take every day to handle all of those responsibilities, and keeping track of them can be really overwhelming.
Yeah, and we talk about the fact that the world's gotten busier, and I believe that it has, obviously, and technology has a big part to play in that. But has something changed in us internally, too, that has caused us to be overwhelmed?
I think we have become accustomed to constant distraction due to technology and information. The media calls it information overload, but truthfully, there's always been more information to know than anybody could ever know. So it's not that there's too much information. There's always been too much information, but now we have all this technology that pushes that information to us whether we want it or not. And we're at the whim of any thought that we have, or anybody who wants to reach us in 17 different ways that they have to reach us. We always have a device in front of us. We always have a screen in front of us. So all of this contributes to this sense of constant distraction that we get accustomed to. So then in the absence of that constant distraction, we find ourselves bored and we seek out the distraction.
Yeah. You say in your book that the biggest problem with the information these days is that it's no longer passive, right? Probably in days past, people created all this content or information, and we could choose to access it whenever we wanted or not. But now it's just so in our face all the time that it it causes this overload of not knowing what to pay attention to and what not to, right?
Exactly.
So we, as I was getting ready for this interview, I started thinking about something that I've talked about in the past, what scientists call stimulus filtering, where like in the animal kingdom, you might think about a lion that's on the hunt, and they have to zero in on the things that really matter when they're hunting. So their brains tend to filter out all the extraneous details of life so they could really focus in. And that happens with us too. We tend to filter out everything except what is important in the moment. But that's getting harder and harder to do because of all this technology, isn't it?
Yeah. And in fact, I think that humans are evolutionarily wired to pay attention to the new and the novel, because back in our hunter-gatherer days, that's what saved our lives. Any little, rustle in the brush or noise in a tree, that's what humans had to pay attention to back then. And now that tendency still carries over, where it's the new and the novel gives us a little, some scientists call it a dopamine squirt, which is when we pay attention to that new thing, we get a little squirt of a brain chemical called dopamine, which is a happy brain chemical. It's related to satisfaction and contentment. And so the more we get it, the more we want it. And so filtering out all of that irrelevant stimulus gets harder and harder, because every time that new ping of the email or the new alert on your phone or the new indicator that somebody, liked your Facebook post, we want to see that. And sometimes those communication devices bring us really good information, and so we want to know it now.
Yeah, I've seen it actually described as being kind of the same process in our brains as what we get from gambling, right? Because
exactly.
we keep accessing it because we're hoping for the big payoff, that email that's going to be something really great, or, the big post on Facebook that's just going to make us happy or whatever. So we keep going back to that, hoping to get the payoff. But so what do we do about this? I know you call focus kind of like a muscle. You call it our focus muscle. So
Yes.
it's something that can be strengthened. Is that right?
Absolutely. Focus is like anything else. Like a muscle, the more you work it, the stronger it becomes. The problem is our typical daily behavior actually weakens our focus muscle, because we're constantly distracted. And the more constantly distracted we are, the more distracted we will be.
So where do we start with this process of, strengthening our focus muscle?
Yeah. When you are constantly distracted, those quiet focus times will feel unnatural. We have that itch to, people even talk about the phantom vibration of the phone when it's not even in your pocket.
Yeah.
And so those quiet times will feel unnatural, and you'll have a tendency to seek out that distraction. But if you can stop undermining your own productivity and attention, and instead try to practice focus, even set a timer for a few minutes at a time. If you have a really hard time staying focused, maybe try 5 minutes or 7 minutes on your timer. If you feel like you're not that bad at it, maybe try 10 or 15 minutes on your timer. Get involved in something, pull up a task that's important to you that you've been meaning to get done. See if you can get absorbed in it. And then the more you get comfortable with that time, the longer you can set the timer for. And pretty soon you'll be back to where you used to be, because most people tell me that their attention span is a lot shorter than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. So practicing kind of mindfulness exercises, meditative type exercises, do those help also in strengthening that focus muscle?
Absolutely. What I talk about is controlling your attention, and meditation is the ultimate control over your own attention. Meditation is all about controlling where your thoughts go and recognizing when you are not thinking about what you want to be thinking about. So definitely. And my favorite app, there's a great app for that called Buddhify. And it gives you little daily meditations that you can do at different times during the day.
I use an app called Calm, too, that kind of does the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's got some good, even just 5-minute guided meditations.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been doing lately is I just make myself sit down, maybe outside somewhere or whatever, and I'll just stop everything. I'll kind of close my eyes, and I'll just try to pay attention to every sound I can hear.
That's nice.
And just try and identify. Okay, and it's amazing. There are a lot of sounds around you that, again, that whole stimulus filtering that you're just filtering out. But when you stop down and just kind of force yourself just to pay attention, and I find that really helps my my ability to focus as well.
Yeah, and studies have shown that being out in nature can actually jumpstart our creativity. So absolutely, sitting outside and just letting your mind. In fact, studies have also shown that letting your mind wander can also increase your ability to focus.
So, but it's got to be those appointments, right? It can't just be, when I'm in the middle of a project. It's kind of an intentional, I'm going to sit down for 15 minutes and just let my mind wander wherever it wants to go, right?
Mind wandering is beneficial at any time, but if you're in the middle of a project and you find yourself being unable to stay focused on it, that probably means you need a break. And you'll be better off if you do take that break instead of trying to really push through. And there are lots of things you can do during that break. You can let your mind wander. You can go take a walk. You can, if you change your physical state, get your heart rate up, or even take a 10-minute power nap. Close your eyes. Those things can really help amp up your ability to focus and your creativity and your inspiration, your motivation to stay focused and finish that project.
So what would you recommend for us today if we're really, just kind of starting off, we're a newbie, we're a beginner, where would you say a good launching point is for starting to build that focus?
I think that timer, certainly those guided meditations, if you don't want to just be still, a guided meditation, like you said, using an app, those apps have meditations for really short, from 2 or 3 minutes all the way up to 15, 17, 20 minutes. So pick one that is on, I don't know about Calm, but on Buddhify, it gives you different circumstances. Here's one if you're taking a break from work, and here's one if you can't sleep, and here's one if you're outside in nature. So pick one of those and just try to go through it, be still, but you have to make sure that you create the environment where you'll be able to complete that. If you're in a crazy, busy environment, it's going to be really hard.
Part of the difficulty, I think, with using a guided meditation app on my phone is that, what if notifications? So it's really important, like, to put your phone in airplane mode or whatever while you're using that app, correct?
Absolutely. Airplane mode or do not disturb.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, Maura, thank you. We're going to talk again on the next episode about this idea of building our focus and the ways that we undermine our own productivity and our own attention span. So thank you for being with me today, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Thanks for having me.
Maura Thomas, my guest today on the One Simple Thing podcast. Again, I would love for you to pick up a copy of her book. It's called Personal Productivity Secrets. You will find a link to that when you go to the homepage at onesimplethingonline.com. Would love to get you a copy of her book, get it in your hands, and have you start reaping the benefits of regaining control of your life. Maura Thomas, our guest on the One Simple Thing podcast. You can find out all the details, links to her book, show notes, the whole works. Just go to onesimplethingonline.com. That's the number one, simplethingonline.com. And again, I would always love to talk to you. You can email me anytime, dave@onesimplethingonline.com, again with the number one in there. And also on Facebook, facebook.com/onesimplethingpodcast, again with the number one in the name. Thank you for listening. I'll have Maura Thomas back next time. And again, we'll talk more about regaining control of our life, taking it back on the One Simple Thing podcast. I'll see you then.